Hey y'all, welcome to today's asynchronous video. In this one, we're going to be learning how to compare slopes of two different proportional relationships. So in this example, I am given two companies, company number one and company number two, and I'm asked to determine which company is spending more on electricity each hour. So right now, the information that I have is one graph and one equation. And what this equation tells me is how much electricity they spend per hour. So X measures how many hours it's going to be, and Y is my measure of cost, aka dollar signs. So I want to make sure that that matches up with the information I am given in my graph to make sure that these are things that I can compare. So next thing I'm going to be doing is looking at each graph's or each equation's magnitude. And we talked about that today. Magnitude means how steep is this? How fast is it growing? And we want to find out which company has a larger magnitude slope. So right now for company two, it's going to be a lot easier to find its magnitude. I'm just going to call that C2 because its magnitude is just its slope, which is going to be 20. So finding magnitude in slopes is going to be our easiest bet, or in equation is going to be our easiest bet because it's just slope. The coefficient of x, the number multiplying 2x. This tells me that they charge $20 per hour. So now we're going to go ahead and look at company number one. And so when I'm looking for slopes on a graph, I want to make sure that there's points that I can use that are lining up directly on my graph's intersections. So all of these points, I can very easily show how they're growing from one point to the next. And this is where I want y'all to be careful when drawing out your triangles. Because I know in the past we've only worked when it's been counting by ones, but this time notice how my side is counting up by 20s. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind as we go through today's lesson. So that means instead of this being 2 and a 1 over here, my change in x is 2 and my change in y is actually going to be 20. So the magnitude for company 1 is going to be change in y is 20 over 2, which I can simplify down to just being 10. So now I found the magnitude for each company's expense on electricity. Now I got to make sure that I'm reading my question and answering the question fully. So it's asked me again to explain how you were able to use the slopes to determine your answer. And again, spending, which company is spending more on electricity? Looking at these two magnitudes between company one and company two, I can tell just by their slopes, company two is spending a lot more money than company number one. And my justification for this would be the magnitude for company two is bigger than the magnitude of company one. 20 is bigger than 10. So in today's problems, that's the main thing that I want us to focus on. Finding slope from a graph and comparing the magnitudes between this, our equations, and even some tables when you run into them. So I want you to go ahead at any point, stop, pause, rewind. Again, I'm going to restate our justification. The magnitude for company 2 is greater. So again, I'm going to use a little greater symbol than the magnitude of company 1. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, go ahead and continue moving forward. I'll see y'all in a little bit.